Greetings everyone. Honoured to be on this demonstration, but really unhappy about the reasons why we're having to be here. I'm here to protest violence against women and also violence against history. I spend a lot of my time teaching about the social and political history of the East End. I teach that as a history from below, a history of people fighting for their rights. Yeah, not exploiting other people in the way they tell their history. And a number of the aspects of women's history in the East End have already been referred to, the match women and the suffragettes. I want to throw in a few more and make one or two other points. A year after the match women held their fantastic strike, the dockers were on strike in the East End. The dockers would not have won their strike without a brilliant community campaign, and that was led by women leading rent strikes throughout the East End, and all kinds of community organising that made that strike a success. In the 1920s, there was a very great trade union leader called Sarah Wesker, who organised clothing workers and led strikes in the late 20s and early 30s to get proper conditions for clothing workers in the East End. There were councillors in the 1930s and 40s and beyond, like Bertha Sokoloff. There were the women who were part of the Stepney Tenants Defence League, who were fighting for better housing, for rent controls, for better hygiene and better lighting, and all the things that unfortunately we're having to fight for once again. And go forward 30 years and you've got the women, the Bengali women of the 1970s, protesting racist attacks on the street and also fighting about discrimination in housing. Of course, there's a rather important event that happened in Capel Street in between these dates, and that was the Battle of Capel Street. And on the day of the Battle of Capel Street, 13 women were arrested, but women played a really crucial role because there were 3 barricades down this street. The police thought they'd sort of got through and cleared a path for the fascists when they got through the first barricade. But from the windows above the shops in the tenement flats in Capel Street, when the police were stuck between the first 2 barricades, the women in those flats pelted the police with everything they could lay their hands on, bottles, pliers, anything that was around, hammers, and the police had to retreat. And they broke into a lockup on Capel Street, and then the women came down from the flats, and they went into that lockup, took the police's helmets, and told them to go away, or some such thing. Just round the corner to this road, it's Dock Street, and on Dock Street there's a plaque remembering the Battle of Capel Street. How insulting it is to have a museum like this next to a plaque commemorating people's campaigning, women's campaigning against the fascists. The last thing I want to say is that the slogan of around Capel Street, "They shall not pass, this march must not take place," well, I think we have to say this museum must not take place.